Once again, Eba Ifidikesi, so Pinax TV. Currently, the President of the Republic of Ghana, there are issues and it's trending outside the country, particularly on the international front. Now, we know Sir Mahama has been one person who's been championing this whole African unity. I mean, in the midst of all these xenophobic attacks. So, one thing, Ewa Mahama on also, not just him, we are talking about the likes of his cabinet ministers like Okudu Blackwa. It say Africa, no, we should foster unity. Let's come together. Not just say yintimi bridge all the gaps. Yintimi be like the United States of Africa. But then all of these things are cost Mahama crowd a resolution UN concerning the slavery, of course. So it's one of the most treacherous crimes, of course. So I'm a resolution in the past, no, the white and also the Western media, no, they are not really happy with Mahama this time around. Now, if you're following what has been going on, you realize that since Mahama this particular past 2 years, no, there has been many arrests. Talking about the likes of Abronye Okatechi FIFA recently, lady or TikTok a friend about Miaba Omunina no can sem against Mahama. The administration, what will happen is that at the end of the day they will come after you. Now, all these things have garnered the attention of Western media. I've been giving you updates since last time and our last 3 months. BBC for article be not just BBC alone. Telegraph UK so your article be no paise Mahama no or rule Ghana to say sebi obia or military ruler. Even though Mahama was voted for in power, no, he is treating Ghana like a military ruler. I'm question a whole lot of things now. The head and tail is that Menuka say Al Jazeera have also joined the call, and Al Jazeera is saying say Ghana. See, a president, he's one of the most oppressive political leaders. And let's put this on the screens. Al Jazeera posted this today, and since morning, it has been trending. In less than 16 months, Ghana has recorded 14 arrests, linked to false news and offensive speech, raising concerns about free speech in the country. So now this Al Jazeera English, they are now criticizing, we are leaders I just say they don't practice what they preach. Mahama is basically one of them. Mahama is outside preaching unity, love, freedom of speech, but in his own country, he is doing otherwise. Now, before Ebe in some way, if you be one of the things you also have to know is that this whole Al Jazeera propaganda network. Why? Because Al Jazeera will run news network and paint Iran like Iran is doing something which is really good. And ultimately, one of the things which will shock you is that Iran can kill about 10,000 protesters in their country. Al Jazeera doesn't have any issue about it. Al Jazeera has issue with President John Dramani Mahama. Now, in some way, if be a because just some few weeks ago, we've seen many things are air cost so Chrome has say. Now, air cost, I believe it is what has triggered this particular reportage coming from Al Jazeera English. Now, let's put this on the screens for you to know exactly what we are talking about. Just some few weeks ago, Enna Haruna Idrisu, Odibe just say he is not really happy with how MPP for and as a political opponent, we give them egregious or and I say gargantuan bail conditions. He's been questioning that, and this is exactly what Haruna Idrisu have been saying. Now, Haruna Idrisu is a Minister of Education, so for him to come out and say this, then there is basically some sort of confusion in the John Dramani Mahama NDC administration. Now, you can watch a video involved of what Haruna Idrisu said, because Babaka just this particular week and also I think from last week Ebano we saw say Henry Nana Boachi Nana B together with Afenyo Markins and co, they went to meet the European Union in Ghana and gave them a petition and also reported Mahama. So he believes that all these sequence of things, as Mahama idin ababe to the international front, so he's one of the most wicked and also worst presidents in the world right now. Video
in Ghana today, we have seen excesses from the police, excesses from the court, excesses from Ioko, denying persons bail and using bail as punishment for accused person. That is not law. It is tried knowledge and tried law that don't deny an accused person bail or ask an accused person to pay excessively as a punishment to the accused person if you uphold the right to a fair trial and uphold the right to innocence at trial, that every person is presumed innocent. So I expect that in Ghana today, we must end the high-handedness and excessiveness in matters relating to bail and its denial and its charges.
So that was Harry Edrusu. He said this just some few weeks ago. Now I don't know if the administration has been picking intel. Said this particular reportage. In fact, today Mihu reports. I saw say it was trending all over because it painted Mahama, who was supposed to be like the savior, the Mandela of our time, somehow a bad person. But then we'll get back to it. I told you, said just within this week, we saw a reportage. A buyer said the MPP leaders talking about Henry Nana Boakye, the likes of Afenyo Markins and co. They petitioned the European Union in Ghana over what they described as a state-sponsored political persecution here in Ghana, particularly, over the criminalization of free speech. Now, let's put this on the screens. This is basically the screenshot. Joy News for report. Say MPP petitions European Union over alleged growing state-sponsored political persecution, criminalization of free speech, and erosion of democratic freedoms in Ghana. Now, I want you to note this very carefully. The word that they use here, or say state-sponsored political persecution, criminalization of free speech, and also erosion of democratic freedoms. Now, we would like to put back producer for a year Al Jazeera for tweets in the two screens. So, mommy, you realize that this same reporter, MPP4, Omoko report say Mahama to EU, basically the same kind. And Al Jazeera for a report here. Now, I want the screenshot, the Twitter screenshot for any two screens, because there is a correlation of that particular in some and what they use and then the Al Jazeera for a use. So does it mean say MPP for petition na see an Al Jazeera for age na so that is the big question. Now, if you look here correctly, or say then, in less than 16 months, Ghana has recorded 14 arrests linked to false news and offensive speech, raising concern of free speech in the country. So basically, the correlation here is that the same political and state-sponsored political persecution and one Al Jazeera for Eka. Now, we'll get some few details into it. In the Al Jazeera for website, I pick just a few part of it on why Al Jazeera thinks that Ghana's president may be worse than even the predecessor. I'm talking about ex-president Akufo. So let's head back to Al Jazeera 4 website. We just pick some few things in it because over Ghana currently, there are some people and as some people in the media space who are also concerned about this whole thing. Into your back down this Al Jazeera 4 website. Now you're scrolling quite down. You're scrolling quite down. Osha has a pause here for me. Or say government enforcement, not repression. It's a reading from a Srohwa. Or say, okay, so I may have to read it from this side because it's really too much. So basically, this is it. So Osha the whole screen. So I'll say Ghana has recorded 14 arrests linked to false news and offensive speech in less than 16 months, nearly double the number of documented during the previous administration and far 8 years according to the Media Foundation for West Africa. So Al Jazeera Air Party say a brand ex-president Akufo-Addo Otijwa the entire 8 years. One way to compare the number figuratively and as a comparatively. Mahama's number is way more, and this they are citing MFWA, that is the Media Foundation for West Africa. Now, ASEAN also the rise triggered a sharp debate in one of West Africa's most stable democracies over whether authorities are simply enforcing long-standing laws in a new digital environment or urging into a more restrictive approach to public speech, and that is exactly what is really going on. Now, bad down, bra down, mommy. There's a particular heading or my or opposition, a warning sign of democracy. Opposition leaders see something more troubling taking shape. Minority leader Afenyo Markins has been one of the most outspoken critics. So you realize I told you say EU4 and MPP focus share EU4 no. The reporter say Mahama sisi an or turn Ghana into basically a pariah state. Okay, a state that just say okan sema ni abetso. I just saw the Casabwa SOYM. The name here for your markings. So now Al Jazeera far for your markings where saying say Mahama now ɔtete nkurɔfoɔ ɔka ne ho asɛm bɔne wobɔ ne yiri din lɔdin na ne aba abɛkyew basically ɔne MPP foɔ nsonsonoyɛ biara ɛnda ɔmo ntɛm. And even if you look at it well koraa na the previous administration koraa they were better off compared to this particular administration. Ne ɛba down a ɔse the state-sponsored persecution must stop. Afenyomarkins told Al Jazeera, arresting citizens for words that do not constitute genuine threats is not justice, it is intimidation. So Afenyomarkins, in this one, kind Al Jazeera for them, apeke. Now you back down or say excessive use of state power risks undoing Ghana's hard-won democratic gains, he said. So that is exactly what is really going on. I mean, say, you know, Al Jazeera for amaye the criminal code. As you see, as our criminal code, no. It's at the center of the debate. So let me read this particular one. Video. Also, where is the line? At the center of the debate are long-standing provisions in Ghana's Criminal Code and Electronic Communications Act, which authorities say are now being applied to a fast-moving digital landscape. Government supporters argue the increase in arrests reflects the explosion of anonymous and unregulated online content. Critics say the problem is not the laws themselves, but how they are being used. So recently, Ghana's Criminal Code and Electronic Communications Act about that was there previously, but then it was basically amended. As you see, can say man, you beat my track phone about Sam George, Minister of Communication or no, and no push ya na sa way law. You see, according to Al Jazeera, and no use to a chinko for say. But I told you, sir, there are concerns even from people within the local media space, and one of them, Samson Ayini. Now, or the Simbia Babe Tuja and a Joy News Ayini, or the Simbia Babe Tuja, basically no part say, you know, in some way a caution, and yet he sat there and spoke against the previous administration on Mochichichi NDC4, and the NDC4 swaba almost more. So Ayini basically, you know, or yet more like obey any news now, the news file and the segments now, or yet more like a take. And he take no no, and it is a boss business, and he take need there. It's not subject to question or can. You know, this particular video, Babaka, Yebetuaso.
This Newsfile is your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile we put Ghana first. I'm seeing too many messages on Samson's Take. Samson's Take is not subject for discussion, so I don't read messages on them. The fact I'll tell you though is that in less than 2 years, is it, of this administration, those repressive laws have been used more than the entirety of Akufo-Addo's regime. Go check the statistics. It's terrible. We got to stop it. My guest.
All right, so that is Samson Ninsema or the Tuja. Now, one of the things you also have to notice is there are people within the Mahama administration who are they are basically frustrated. There's a basically growing sentiment among the people within the Mahama ranks. Of course, Ukraine is painting the government and the president in a kind of a bad manner. Many can say, see, and a deputy presidential spokesperson, Shamima Muslim, or the Simbia Babe Tuja or parties, or Betty, Yakwachiwe. Yembisa, and who says, Uncle Funny Yakwachi or Monomama, Yakwachi or Mahama, Dominim Kayana. Have we ever seen, say, Yakwachi be a Mahama Edichi, Lordina Mahama Edichiana, and your Mahama need Ibu Oka Mahama is here on our brochimemu. Now, TikTok, Aquakan, Binia, Aquachina, yes, Mahama. There are people within the National Democratic, the New Patriotic Party, they are deliberately painting Mahama black. Yenko T Sema Shamima Muslim or the Tuja about this particular issue, because definitely, you know, it's one of those things that is a Odre Honkra won't see.
In Ghana today, we have seen excesses from the police, excesses from the court, excesses from Yoko, denying persons
good governance principles that restores trust in these institutions. Now, these institutions are not perfect institutions. That we all agree. The judiciary, the legislature, the executive, media, are we perfect institutions? No. We are not. They are human institutions. They can also lend themselves to influence. The security agencies, Do you think that President Mahama actually takes the telephone call or sends somebody to go and tell IGP, arrest this person, don't give the person bail?
So he doesn't influence those decisions.
So President Mahama has time to send somebody to go and say that go and arrest a TikToker. President Mahama can tell the police, IGP, go and arrest the TikToker. And you don't know who President Mahama is. Because that President Mahama is not interested in following the bad examples of the NPP. He's not interested in eroding trust in our accountability institutions. He's interested in building good governance principles that restores trust in these institutions. Now, these institutions are not perfect institutions. That's, we all agree. The judiciary, the legislature, the executive, media, are we perfect institutions? No. We are not. They are human institutions. They can also lend themselves to influence. The security agencies. Do you think that President Mahama actually takes the telephone call or sends somebody to go and tell IGP, arrest this person, don't give the person bail?
So he doesn't influence those decisions.
So President Mahama has time to send somebody to go and say that go and arrest a TikToker. President Mahama can tell the police, IGP, go and arrest the TikToker. And you don't know who President Mahama is. Because that President Mahama is not interested in following the bad examples of the NPP.
All right. It's here for a bit to us. So now, I just say in some way, air question. That is exactly what is really going on now. You could see very well, say, now the administration, or maybe we say, baby and some they are not really happy, and it's painting the administration, John Dramani Mahama, and also the president in a really bad manner. Ultimately, no, Nyamana air question or many engine. So that's exactly what is really going on now. Menoka said this is definitely a big issue. Now, we're moving on. Now, you call a year in some for so because this particular issue is one of those issues. But then it is what it is, and then in some air question in here. Now, you're moving on straight to the camp of a Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. One of the things you have to realize within this week is there's been a growing tension between the health ministry and also the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. The fari by ni and as in the kofa by ni and say ye wo ho and a Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. I'm going to say betu just say emergency cases beba ho no and as a beba Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. Unfortunately, no omuntimi admitting new cases. Inti patient be any accident and accident to see a chrome kumase kwan so ni refer ni pan say nkwa no call G Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. Unfortunately, no, it can't be so. They can't take the person. Why? Because hospital one kasano emergency ward no ayema the best. In fact, they don't have the structures and amenities to consume a patients now. Now, and no, I mean, can say it raise a whole concern. Say how good is our administration and how good is the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital handling these cases? And definitely, no, Amavoibre started berating the National Democratic Congress, the National Democratic Congress, also the Health Minister for their handling of issues at the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. Menuka says there's been an update about because the Health Minister Mitha Akando or the Insembia Babe Tuja or party say in fact in summer CAF CEO or the Tuja say they can't admit new patients and as emergency ward why any a whole lot of things. So they are not happy because and also consult say the health ministry before they come out to kind of bring this particular statement out. A protocol I also follow, and based on this, the health ministry is not happy. So whilst doing investigation, they have immediately suspended the CAF CEO for 2 weeks. Now let's put this on the screens. Or say the Ministry of Health suspends Konfanoti Teaching Hospital CEO for 2 weeks for announcing suspension of admission of emergency cases. And this is definitely coming at a time we've seen say the CAF CEO is saying that is the reality on the ground because drive a car and a car equal speed. Now then the car and be accident. Now catch a driver and say driver, your speed will cause accident and will lead to death. It is not a curse, it is a fact. In fact, they say we don't have the amenities, the space is full. The beds are not there. The services are a bit more run down on the doctors and the nurses. No, also we are overwhelmed. Into our cancer, same way not to say no correct na factor. Instead of the administration and as the health minister looking at ways to kind of solve this issue, no, he is now moving to suspend the CAF CEO. Now, there's a press release to that statement because many people said this in turn have generated a whole lot of buzz. Now, let's put this particular press release on the screens. In summer, the Ministry of Health or EBA concerned the suspension of this particular CAF CEO. So, as you can see on the screens, the heading here is suspension of the chief executive officer for 2 weeks. Okay, initially it says suspension. It is indefinite and not permanent. But until who said the backlash and how it might spark some sort of strikes and I say some sort of repercussions from the Ghana Medical Association. On there was so many 2 weeks. Then just say but then this particular press release about within the past 24 hours, it has already triggered a whole lot of ripple effect. Let's put this on the screens. I say there are two screens. So I say suspension of the chief executive officer for 2 weeks. As a pursuant to section 36 clause 1 of the of Ghana's Constitution or of the Ghana Health Service and Teaching Hospitals Act 1996 Act 526, I'm respectfully directing the board to suspend the chief executive officer for a period of 2 weeks with immediate effect for causing to be announced. For causing to be announced a suspension of admissions of emergency cases to the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital on Wednesday, June 3, 2026. He will be required to report to me upon the expiry of the 2 weeks. So now, in some minta kando air party said the board of directors, ya track or more, the board of directors for a year. The Ghana Health Service and co and also the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital say museo ni suspended no because of in some way to just say emergency cases they are kind of overwhelmed at the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital like they say omuntimi admitting new cases, and that's according to your minta kandono was something because only penifo na ejuma. There's a health minister there, there's a president there, their MMDC is there. You could just pick the phone and talk to them. You went ahead to do a press release to do damage control and destroy the good name of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and this is a no-go area for them. Yeah, trust also the chief executive admitted before me on Wednesday, June 4, 2026, that he acted contrary to the clear directives of His Excellency the President of the Republic of Ghana by the said announcement. And I told you, say, in some way, one of the things that people are not really happy about is how it painted the president as a person that owned him the oil. Because President Biden also building hospitals or better agenda 111 so near the day. But then one of the biggest hospitals in this country, Konfanoti Teaching Hospital, yare and I be too CCNA do ubebu, you will die. Oti voxi muna voxi driver cospina nemubua, you will die. Why? Because no bed, the emergency ward is full. Into no part side into one country and I announce BB at the end of the day. President on one kasa appointed no uguni ni mase inti ya suspended no yet so the meeting was attended by the chief director, the technical advisor, and the legal advisor to the minister. So I said before all of this Odikan any chief executive officer of CAF no Konfanoti Teaching Hospital, they had a meeting no they agreed so a quite fast so announced this on both parties and there's some sort of reflection which needs to go on. Into no ebeyanka on 2 weeks ni ehwehwe ensem ni ehu bebi ensem no efiba if his narration basically falls in line with the code of conduct and as if it is true or not na yehu the ebeye the way forward. Yeah, trust I also took note of an interview granted by the head of public affairs unit of the Konfanoti Teaching Hospital to a Channel 1 newsroom on the matter of the suspension of admission of new emergency cases by the hospital. This announcement by the head of public affairs unit was until contrary to the directives of the president. Interpacha said the head of public affairs PA Emma Konfanoti Teaching Hospital Osanso Koye any Channel 1 news for Kasa so Senan Semne Kono or must suspend the admission of new emergency cases because of ABCD. Ebra president Akacha say Obi yedi obi abana nipa ni nemrebu nipa ni iwu sebio a form one amode ne beto ahwe na mo hwe no because our hospital are sebio ebia para na be man no cry bit ma sustain for 2 minutes. It is better than leaving the person home or leaving the person in the car. Ultimately the person will die. That was the president's directive, and now Moshe Konfanoti Teaching Hospital ho and mo ye dia mo pe giving your own directives contrary to what the president have what directed. Yeah, trust us. I'm also respectfully requesting you to undertake a thorough investigation to establish on what actually he made. I don't know why they wrote this. I'm also respectfully requesting you to undertake a thorough investigation to establish on what authority he made those comments on Channel 1 newsroom. Further, whether it was a management decision for him to grant the said interview. When necessary, the appropriate sanctions should be applied. You are respectfully requested to submit a report to me within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks. Into a part of the board at the Confano Teaching Hospital, they should also investigate. Sir, a year interview no year. Who gave him that authority to do that interview? Injina so ben no jina ya or they can't ansem no. We need to know because yefan is a Pinax ha ye yawa ha na bia BBS ni ehu se ye weka baako eninam abaefo dinten video so post near online and ABC addressing things sabio eye internal matters quickly the person will be fired because ye di ye fear asem ebekwa abonten so kra na you need to have clearance into no aden na way e was say ye fear asem no yanka nukukuemu yanka nche president ABC na CEO Minister of Health ABC na CEO se no yamboa na eche no bitima ye da ka say oh me de minsem e kwa abonten se be at the end of the day about attack say oh Confano Teaching Hospital ye the opinfo bi aba na ye de ne ba ye see no better the people can't blame Confano Teaching Hospital but then this the case didn't communicate anything kukuru and sorry one mile crash straight to Channel 1 okay sema anyhow but then the other point of all of this I'm going to be air can say you see if you look at this from a perspective now you ha any who sema course so our rich hospital in fact men kai mo yawa ye nua ba me emisa ya moto no or driving motor just say car no no circle over pass no so ye de ne call rich hospital ye de ne call no ye see why you fool ye de ne ko Kolebu ye de ne ko 37 ye de ne ko University of Medical Ghana Center echi no owu ambulance nim ni nyina say no bed and ultimately no it led the Ministry of Health to do investigation. Some investigation no and at the end of the report eba say you best sanction doctors be you best suspend be more and also criminal ka say abranti ni Charles Emisa. Menu ka say Charles Emisa nebusuan for SU all the hospitals involved. Amen now na me so nurses for the into no sabio edim go ase en fato kan ni ba ombedi kan akane wo ho because when the life of people na chemi some ba minister ne president omo yom ho film amaya fa sobo no ambo CAF CEO ene CAF ejumemfo omo nurses ne omo doctors so that's exactly what is really going on but then contrary to all of these things are air course no there's been a ripple effect because Minta Kando obe order this thing he did not basically read the room. You're moving on to the next. He basically did not read the room because Minuka says that particular in some of the two just was suspended CAF CEO no. So I'm the kind. He did not read the room because it has caused some ripple effect. Yesterday, Yetiti say be suspended CAF CEO and the Ghana Medical Association on the press release eba say any action you may take against the CAF CEO there will be a repercussion because in some no in 24 say chinim da wa yembon chen. The thing is there. We don't have the best. And why you fool? Yan can sing. I quite say 8 no. We end day 8. So let's put this on the screens. Or see, Minta Kando orders a immediate suspension of CEO. So this was what really happened. Quickly, you know. You should you see a one a year cap for edwumfo so almost say hey and you somewhere na de ba de munim inte ho and almost so mo de betudwa as you are seeing on the screens or say strike looms at CAF as doctors oppose suspension. Fatu screen so mami producer. Strike looms at CAF. Strike looms at CAF as doctors oppose suspension of CEO. So basically no in some ebane say doctors are more Confano Teaching Hospital. Doctors no more no. They are not really happy. Based on in Sema Abase a suspend your CEO. Now at the end of na akade any akane ye bitim ye adwuma ni ho a how best do you want our CEO to talk about it? Especially if he's been saying this for almost 2 years now. Nothing is being done. Now, strike doctors no any nurses for no imagine some beko strike and chebia ena information for SN by. To show the whole screen so I'll say CAF doctors begin indefinite strike over suspension of CEO. CAF doctors, that's Confano Teaching Hospital, or more doctors, no, they began indefinite strike over suspension of CEO. You see, and can now qua, you say, emergency ward, why a man, and then the okwa doctor be any ho. Now, I'm telling you, this is going to cause a lot of death because, in as much as said you, you cry, and as a private hospital, you go out qua, you're too severe, you catch us, oh, I say the needs have machines, no. So ye be transfer wo akọ kolebu ye be transfer wo akọ yi say and in most cases no or somewhere around the middle belt. I'm talking about Brown Hafo Eastern region, Ashanti region, and even certain parts of the northern region. You be catch us here for Uncle G Confano Teaching Hospital. Inti e do kwa na first see ano o case ni emergency case na impeni hwa ana hwa ye ma. You see akwa doctor bi eni ho. Dr. Bieni ho nti wuna na sebio yebewu. Now there's a press release to that effect. You be ready part of it and it's ready almost all of it. At the end of the day, it is going to give us a basic overview, okay, as to what is really going on and also the way involved. So let's put this particular press release on the screens. Share press release now a screen. So this is definitely coming from the Confanoche Doctors Association. You're trying to tell our friend Kada. Na idea na kada foka o share letter way by Nida 5th June 2026 also notice of industrial action, and this came from the chairman of the board of Confano Teaching Hospital Kumasi. It reads, at an emergency meeting of the Confano Teaching Hospital Doctors Association, in short for CADA, held on 5th June 2026, recent events in the health space involving the Confano Teaching Hospital were evaluated. So based on insama akoso no normal case they be within 72 hours. You see obeka say emergency ward wo ayema. Pa health minister said na obeka sa the next day was suspended a CEO no. You catch is also suspended CEO na. The problem itself still lingers. If not solve the issue, we will follow our CEO home. No problem. They suspended the CEO. Almost follow their CEO home. It's now doctors now already know endorse who Krumham. He said no money who beam. Into this the sequence of events. See, there was intense deliberation on the unprecedented congestion within the emergency department and the resultant measures instituted by hospital management to ensure the continued delivery of safe patient care. Members expressed profound concern that actions undertaken by management aimed at addressing serious patient care challenges and ensuring patient and caregiver safety have rather resulted in disciplinary sanctions against the chief executive officer. They were anonymous that the decision by management to temporarily halt the emergency admission and coordinate with surrounding health facilities was an important clinical and administrative intervention intended to prevent avoidable loss of life and preserve patients' safety in the face of the severe capacity constraints. So basically, in some muchim ewa hane say yatete you say word why your money are the best sub you and your mope, but because why your that place is congested. Inti se bibi edo be to cry no ya na aya se fem kakra inti edo be ko ho na sinya baby fa wonto na why your ubewu doctor siso ewo hospitals akese e okrom asoso ya kan miensa pe 37 kolebu rage na eye confanoche podie it takes the whole of the middle belt. It's the beyond Kofonia accident, Kumasi Accra, Eastern region, heart attack, cardiac arrest, stroke near the adeno. Sankofoni in an emergency unit. No, why am I? Dear no person money. Dear no person money. Tomu quadrin room. Okay, meeting your cast. Okay, ABC deny course no. Yeah, change so near cast. Okay, ain't me admitting Kofu. See, I need quite a bit my address the issue. Health Minister send a cocoa pie. Yen so. Also, the meeting further noted that Konfano Teaching Hospital serves as the principal tertiary referral hospital for the middle and northern sectors of Ghana and continues to operate under significant infrastructural limitations despite an ever-increasing patient load. As I was saying, northern part of Ghana, the middle part na ehwa na yedo beko na nu efrem sem papa ya blah 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 ehwa na yede ne kwa yakopon to ne sa efrem so a serious issue see afros na papa yare ABC de yede ne ko Konfano chi and you didn't do no bed. How would you feel? He didn't die at the hospital though, he died before yede ne beko, but imagine say yede ne call no ko wu here because of no bed and yan kam mu okroma de ade se ye betcheme yen to aso ha say. The meeting further noted the Konfano Teaching Hospital serves as a principal tertiary referral hospital in the middle and northern sectors of Ghana and continues to operate under significant infrastructural limitations despite an ever-increasing patient load. The current situation reflects long-standing systemic challenges that require urgent policy and infrastructure solutions rather than punitive action against healthcare leaders attempting to manage their consequences. So, in some can say, I didn't know what I was here solving on. See, an yanum or mubufu. I then I became in some see how do go about hoofy. But then issue no any that when you're flado, said you a Jimmy Phoebe in so pa na omod in Rako Google temu, they be. And ask me being so also for an aquasibia of fairly esidan also, they be. Where ya dear bit me 2-1 or more, where ya dear bit me $100 million, aye. But they won't do it. And na Konfano cha ma building no send yet ye bueni ya kan enkwesi daben na afedi ye ka se hwa ma instead of you guys to do something brainstorm munye bibi mu ya ban scan ewo mo nsem mu buofu se mo suspend CEO ye to aso or say the meeting also unanimously condemned the minister's action in suspending the chief executive officer under the prevailing circumstances, describing the decision as unjustified and counterproductive to efforts to address the underlying systemic challenges confronting the hospital. Inti CEO na ba be kan se we ni nje hu po a bra ho na be hwe na kase ye tu ho na mo ne gu CEO nenim ase. Instead, if taking the approach of punitive measures, ye twi na so ye yi ne fiade so ye de nipa ye de ni be si ho a obe kan sem a ebe ma ban ne look good. Obe painting Mahama say Mahama is Jesus eno ne ye ena eye Konfano Teaching Hospital almost association of doctors no on pa say masa ye nyam bofra wu ya tena ha ma NDC MPP akwa abasa o ma ne kode a ene also hu say yesu ye di nechi now almost also a kansin meet be call the next one no me boss to na eye yakọ eye insem foforo eso iti ye call the next page or say the meeting therefore unanimously adopted the following resolutions. It's doctors nyina kwatena so me meeting no omakwa adwum krom says see an way number yasaki omusi your way number number 1 to commence the total withdrawal of services by medical doctors of Konfano Teaching Hospital effective 6 a.m. on Saturday today 6 June 2026. Ene me no can say okwa doctors ni ho doctors ni ho because Masaki ye CEO say why ma na waka Moso man kwa yesu ye beko and doctors no nya you can easily replace. These are people mako school for 7 years. Dr. Krako school for 6-7 years krana. And no crown you baby you can't do anything. You need years of experience. More 10 years of experience. Sabio untimi country obi a onya heart attack say enfa no nkoto ho na doctor ni owie school na you me operate on. We need a person who has experience. Into omu nyina ekwa enye wu ni ebewu. 2. Continuation of the industrial action until A, the suspension of the chief executive officer is reviewed and reversed. B, the board issues clear policies regarding the management of situations where the emergency capacity of the hospital has been exceeded. This should include explicit guidance on the patient overflow and circumstance under which admissions must be restricted in the interest of patient safety. C, the Ministry of Health provides clear timeline for the operationalization of the Siwa Hospital and Afari Military Hospital, as well as timelines for retooling the CAF and other hospitals within the Ashanti region to ease the burden. In some of the fire by number 1, and then Okwa Konfano Teaching Hospital doctors omunye ejuma effective 6 a.m. 2, strike na bet to aso akopim timer omu chief executive officer no aban beka say si an ye de na ya san so di nesi ade so whilst we are reviewing the case again say si ano say ye fa patient na patients aba emergency ward no ma ye ma e na wo say ye health ministry no make say okay ho ye ma and am admit 500 patient na ho ye ma mon pause munye say and I say munye 10 for mun kogu ha give them guidelines more guidelines and you can't just suspend again on part say Siwa hospital ni afare military hospital no e hospital e bit my hospital bi a ye bit me equipe na patient overflow no ye di bia kokko so it will not just be calf alone. It's a calf if calf overflows that's confined hospital if it overflows ye di ebi mo be ko hospital that Siwa hospital and also that afare military hospital. 3 to engage the public and relevant stakeholders through appropriate media channels to highlight the challenges confronting CAF, particularly the chronic mismatch between patient demand and available infrastructure and resources within the Ashanti region and the country at large. Currently, your Confano Teaching Hospital, no, is facing a infrastructural problem, which is true. Hospital, no, there's not been any extension. As I saw a bit my extended, but then any and at the now let me give you a shocking comparative analysis. Way back 30-40 years ago, if Ghana's population was somewhere around 8-9 million and the Ghana's population is heading towards almost 45 million. Sa hospital now first a shenko for and I say it takes care of basically like let's say around the middle but 3-4 million people. Now that same hospital is taking care of almost like 15-20 million people. How is this even possible? Yeah, address issue near MPP NDC. This is exactly what will happen. So they need the ministry, the health ministry, the president to do things about and address the issue of how Confano Teaching Hospital ayema sisiano yehu de ebeye okokaso esi o ye suspending crofo yet what sa and say one day obi bu afu say ne yere eba say o me deliver emergency yes nya baby afa na yere anto na say ne bu afu ma akwashi hospital na say asem na asem ede aba so that's exactly what is really going on. So let an akọ emunsem de bebre but basically no the top fan no ene yabo me no ka say no there's someone no afafranto the running mates afafranto the running mates me ka afafranto I'm talking about yera alanchemantin the running mates and on the same bia ba betuja say Minta Kando is one of the people or yet the most arrogant ministers in the country. Yes, one of the most arrogant ministers in the country. Now, running mate of Alan Chemantin, if I Kwame Owusu Danso Esquire. On this same way, Akotuja, I just Wakoka Ble, Wakoka to say, or the Wako kind of this same way Akako Tuja. It's no you can tie a year very soon in some of the Ababe Tuja or blasted a year Minta Kando say yeah one of the most worst ministers in this country because they wako ye and you woo and nam you see our doctors for you say Sisiano omun take care and as omako strike no and yeah asem no first na asem no 20%. I say why no 90%. Basically, CAF is no more in operation. You can't go and take baby doctors and I say you basically take doctors from Accra to go there. It won't work. They have a collective purpose. You could see some Kwame Danso Odi Tuja Babaka Yebetu Aso.
Not true. Because he is more of a knee-jerk minister. Whenever he hears that there's an issue in a hospital, then he takes the media and then he runs there, walking like some Arnold Schwarzenegger into those hospitals. That's what is happening because all the videos I've seen of him, when there's an issue, then he carries the media, he walks like Arnold Schwarzenegger, he goes there, and that's what. Then we come back to ground zero. The issues still persist. Look, let's veer away from some of these sensationalism into an arena of seriousness. Healthcare delivery is a serious business. Akano is one of the worst performing ministers in Ghana today.
Let's face it.
That's not true.
Because he is more of a knee-jerk minister. Whenever he hears that there's an issue in a hospital, then he takes the media and then he runs there, walking like some Arnold Schwarzenegger into those hospitals. That's what is happening. Because all the videos I've seen of him, when there's an issue, then he carries the media. He walks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He goes there, and that's what. Then we come back to ground zero. The issues still persist. Look, let's veer away from some of these sensationalism into an arena of seriousness. Healthcare delivery is a serious business. Akano is one of the worst performing ministers in Ghana today. Let's face it.
That's not true.
Because he is more of a knee-jerk minister. Whenever he hears that there's an issue in a hospital, then he takes the media and then he runs there, walking like some Arnold Schwarzenegger into those hospitals. That's what is happening. Because all the videos I've seen of him, when there's an issue, then he carries the media. He walks like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He goes there, and that's what. Then we come back to ground zero. The issues still persist. Look, let's veer away from some of these.
All right, so that's exactly what is really going on. I just say, Minta Kando, he's taking a bite of all of these things at air course. So now, within the National Democratic Congress itself, please take the health minister picture off. Within a year, the National Democratic Party, and the National Democratic Congress itself, their issues are air course. And then air course, and yeah, that's sorry, in some air course, they say, oh, Mahama, why are reshuffling? Mahama here reshuffling. Mahama here reshuffling. I think this will be the first reshuffling or second reshuffling so far in their administration. Now, what really struck all of us was the fact say reshuffling here and ebimu ko ebima amba ebimu so ko ebimu so then enya positions for. Now, reshuffling nearby and many people or some of us were really shocked. Okay, say hey, reshuffling way there. E kamia ko say inkrofobia omo aban ni mu a omo ma Mahama problems so onam enna Mahama ayi e release names are why are we shuffling basically to sack them. Number 1, Sam George. Number 2, Ashanti Regional Minister Amoako Hene. Number 3, the person wakwa this whole health emergency issue e okonfa no teaching hospital aba Minta Kando on also sa yinefi ade so. So we were like, hey, is this really real or not? And also Senator Rawlings Onya positions finally as the defense minister. But then within a circle of some few hours, let's know issues ever home. Now let's put this particular list on the screen just for us for the avoidance of doubts. So any before we release this statement and say list we know issues were home. Okay, so let's take this. We share the whole screen or say President Mahama announces ministerial and deputy ministerial changes, and this came yesterday in Noahumache, 5th June 2026. Remember, it's carrying the presidency communications logo. Say President John Dramani Mahama has made changes to his ministerial team as part of efforts to strengthen the implementation of the government's reset agenda. The changes involve the revocation of the appointment of certain ministers and deputy ministers, the reassignment of some ministers to new portfolios, and appointment of new ministers and deputy ministers. It's near a say Mahama wakwa changes. Ebimu ba. Ebimu so ko pie baby foforo. Now, what will strike you is that at the end of the day, things were not going on right because you realize some names be crowd they are not supposed to be there. Now, Osha terminated appointment. One more terminate your appointment per sa allegedly still by name Ahmed Ibrahim, who is a member of parliament. Oh no, they've terminated himself. Sisi an onye minister of local government, chieftaincy and religious affairs EBM. Again, Eric Opoku, also onye minister of food and agriculture BM. Remember, say Eric Opoku, he's currently at the forefront of fighting and beefing with Atuforsen because also be minister Atuforsen on man is KBI. Atuforsen in release ska agric ministry. Into agric ministry, what you ask yourself, say, hey, na agric ministry, if I saw be pa na was sisia, e dey no mo yama ekuafo. Eriko Poku has been having his issues with Atuforsen recently. Into also yes here Sakeno. Sam Nate George. And then digitalization. You see how they say Ghana ye be bani puno. Puno ye nyina hwa homachi e dey share how fan. Sam George so be bani no. Sam George so be bani pono adan ya was do Ghana card we you can he anyways Sam George pono ni ade oba be bon e ban na me say Mahama nye ne de ono so apparently per this list no ya terminating appointment Muntaka Mohammed, who is the Ministry of Interior and the Minister of Interior no ono so yesi onko fie Isifu Seidu the Minister of State Climate Change and Sustainability ono so yesi onko fie no put them in dinda Dr. Frank Amoako Hene, who is the Ashanti Regional Minister, who told it why say Obia oye doctor, oyiri eye nurse, o sanso ye Ashanti Regional Minister, ukukuru oyiri ni fi Ghana, eko New York, eko wo, etwa pictures, etwa Ghana from poa, Twitter say, me yira wo, sanso she New York cap, wankasa onye patriotic citizen. Frank Amoako Hene, owie so a all catch NDC MPP for one of omu female communicators Akosua Kuma Okwado ana seeing this gibberish on Facebook Mahama say he's had enough. So based on this list and also mu nyina no omuko fie and also Clement Abbas Apek ono no ye pa say ono so ne say or Ministry of Education. I'm sure so no so omo pa say deputy ministers so ono so ye onko fie na Mohammed Adam Sakperu ono so ye deputy minister ono so ye si onko fie na sa list we ba ye no one no san so the reassignment eto ase ebimu ya reassign omo so okay ye you fie ha say no ye de wo ha ebimu so ya reassign omo biem intini pa ye reassign no number 1 Dr. Frank Amoako Hene see an yesi onya Ashanti Regional Minister biem or a Minister of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. It have transferred from Ashanti Regional Minister to that. Also, Muntaka Mubarak, see an Minister of Interior biem or a Minister of Environment, Science and Technology. See an new minister. Remember say, main case here for ya, but the Defense Minister and the other four omuko share so helicopter mu since then you place omo here is basically the deputy is here acting. But the menu ka say no per this list no if it was true, let's say Dr. Zenato Ajama Rollins or no any the Minister of Defense. Also Clement Abbas is here and so the Minister of Food and Agriculture. And President or no has Chocho Mucho the Secretary or also Miss Joyce Bawa Mokhtari. You see, I say or no, and the Minister of Communications, Digital and Innovation, which means why be Sam George if you ho. Ye no fi wa na ye kwa Erikopoku is here and you see per this list they say or a Minister of State Climate Change and Sustainability. And a last one no ye PV Jantua Boaten Danso or no a regional minister for Ashanti region. So basically that is it. But you realize say Salis we back out no. If it was true, there are some names saying ho. It didn't be any ho. Number 1, Sam George. Number 2, Haruna Idrisu. Into omudi kamya kwa say ya wa omoti kokokokoko yempe mu biem. Na sansem we ba ye pe na in fact list the crowd no there's a third part of it. Oba second part of it now. New deputy minister. Reassignment of deputy minister. I say Honorable Vondi. See on the deputy minister for communication, digital technology and innovations. And also no the new deputy minister for education no Eric Edem Agbana. If this list was true, inti suddenly sweep back out and check. And our man focus in fact mimi hu ya nipa adia me yem hye me how na do say how na do say you need fear so how na do so per president di because up until recently no sa post na Musa Dankwa no how na do so was actually leading. And a twisty and a be saying kitia and how na do so near saying kitia they were both tied and chebia na sisia no atu force so rise on a year in ya bema okuju tabla kwa ntiamofo so e kamia kwa say how you na as the presidential ambition no is conflicting with the agenda of the president and as I'm just so kasadodo. So we're all like thinking okay we now understand Julius Debra effect near there the banchebia and the NDC force said no we want to clarify things the answer in summer the NDC for omodebe 2 dra na the National Democratic Congress press release omodebe 2 dra it on your screens the National Democratic Congress, can you zoom it out for me zoom in rather we in summer the National Democratic Congress omodebe 2 omo press release we see June 2026 I say kindly disregard any news on reshuffle As we all strive to curb the menace of deliberate misinformation, some individuals will stop at nothing to poison the atmosphere. To poison the atmosphere. The official spokesperson for the administration is Felix Ofosukwache. Kindly verify any such information through his official channels before sharing it. The Cybersecurity Act can have serious implications, so let us be mindful and responsible in the communication. And this was signed by Godwin Atokan Gwan, who is the Deputy National Communication Officer for the NDC. It's almost say, silence never out, no. We shouldn't. And you know, correct. My mom for a party said the list was actually true, but then it was leaked. A leaky, you know, I say the fingers were faster than the boss. The boss need type here before we press send na ya no for your list that yes and is going to create unintended consequences. Me kra me refi one of the nipa yi ni fi health ministry mu kra na me say me ta kan ro ono so kra me say na din enim ni ade but regardless some a course no now there's been some reactions, okay? Reactions na awo no ebra GTV for Ghana Television omo reposting this particular statement fi NDC for her ebaye no and Akweku Asante a posti say it be party they release official statement calling for disregard for claims of reshuffle. What's going on in the NDC and government? Hey, Papa be born in say aye and easy but regardless no Charlie, it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, no kasi siya no maybe you do no party so and no cray. So that's exactly what is really going on. At say Sam George is still at post. Okay, Sam George is still at post. Minta Kando is still at post. Haruna Juice is still at post. Yeah, should you be serious for the ebeba. But the funny thing about this whole thing is usually when the government is in power, reshuffle say a leaky documents and as information leaking about her. The government will say so and you know correct. But ultimately, most reshuffle release na beba pra afterwards no. Most say no insusunye bi enim. We've seen this before, but then it is what it is. Then to also na enko eye nsem foforo eso because there is a lot to talk about. Hey, me produce a idea, Jesus Christ. Now, yen to also ni enko ye nuaba presenter host ohinini adazwa din de bia me boa. And I just say it's very tough for me. But then this lady, she is one of the people one man a year radio aya kono. Someone said some years ago, so radio is dying, radio is dead. But then this woman added a flavor to radio which has never seen before. Mind you, the days of a year delay or there was this flavor of radio in Bane Baswa. In fact, delay 10 times on 1 man FM. I say, you feel happy. Aha, I'm gonna meet Madina. So we lost those people. Delay food, need delay interview on him. Just so find the baby. So that flavor was not there. You are one who see a woman for ya ben your betty jar stuff for not to which lady be this? And your man radio so ya kono. The course the interview it was different. We've not seen that before. There's a woman host of a year Sompa in Komo. Yes, Ohinini Adazwa. Now she's been with Sompa for some years now. In fact, I saw Obeko onko. But and then no a kamia kwese abroma eyipuma e wokwemu. Me look at information about Beka and say Sompa eye nkomo host Ohinini eye Adazwa. She has officially joined Ahimfie FM and Ahimfie TV. See, and we feel Sompa onye juma Sompa biom. Now it was nice because they gave her a nice farewell. In fact, during the time now Ohinini or yet the farewell bidder at the point in time crown soon any but then send a Bible na can if we are there there's time for everything. And I said imagine this so can you baby a could be me. So share the atmosphere babaka. We are learning say Ohinini efi Sompa because of some 300,000 and 400,000 and 350,000 car package deal. The ever can in media space is a approach. You can hear this particular video. Babaka, we will continue this particular update.
And the Rade Namne Humo Broso edi me be pie Kumasi a me be so me ye wo sompa na said the osenkafo kan no se bibia wo ne bre esu wo ne bre osede wo ne bre odua wo ne bre otwa wo ne bre na ye ba ye ya be adwuma enfie nan abosumi mienu na matra konya kase hu se so mpanko mo host Awurade ne madanse ni ya du so ya bo ani pa bebre ebi wo ho ade me kan ye enye wo de enti sa metena akonya kase mu ye so mpanko mo host sa me di show yi eye boni bitia wo de me ye ya wo fi se anya wo de mesra wo fache me menso mi free makoma mu nyina de obia de eche nenne ameti akonya imu se me sore a mentra akonya we mu biem se so mpanko mo host me de madwuma de nyina ba wie ye e wo sompa na me fa kwanya iso adam CEO Dr. Blessed Foster wo hu se bibi wo mi mu na wode me ba atachi man satam ye general manager Ora Collins Amo Poku Tofia kwa baby obi anyame sha na ye program yi be sha mensa no etinyeje bebre ko so ebi mu se metimi aye metimi nye bo mu tira o mo na so se o mu se bibi wo mi mu etimetimi aye na me ye adwuma no onyame mwa ne onyame ahoden me Godfather Omahini Edubuache the prayer warrior when yame da jina mechisa ya pon money show penny e kwa sorry ya nkomo pa ye beko papa nyame che asori este nyame che asori Omaso Nimponize chamber friends House of Faith ni adem paibo sa na Awurade ya betru hey but to da bi ese wo ma kwan bi na wo mo frɛ kire ba ne nso ebeto aso ti ename sori akonwa isu a ya se wa betrem me bɔ mpa yi apaye man sa wo dum wa konwa yi mu onyame fɛ no mo no ahodin bi obehia Awurade mfanka ne ho said ya Ghana for do me no munno ya se wa sa na wono so nto aso sister put your name hey sister ya me bompa yama ya payama se wonyame a wo me mopo e wiase che mi tu e wiase nyi utum onyame nyi utum wanunu achiri eto de bia o se kwan bi wo wa tiri woni pani so na na wie ye wo wo dia nya wo wo ma de pa ya su drama onyame ma wa hoden na to aso e wo Yesu tinimu ti abusuafo yada obi bia se na die di ho efiri wo kire ko bubehu onyame hira obi bia na onkam ti anwuma isi amantiria meza jampon be kasa bibi kakra me ma me akosi adu fie me ne start ye obeka bibi.
So that was Ohinini Adazwa in summer of the Betuja. She's finally left. Normal, if you have said the bini abeduha, a best answer. Life itself, no, you know, so no, if you be bini about if you are see one day, better send me hope you. So I prepare if you are see now. In wake of all of this, no, bongo ideas, I didn't say Betuja mo be said so much. So let's put this on the screens. I'll say, if it be you where them give you 400,000 cedis as a sign-on fee. And the latest Toyota car valued at 350,000 cedis, you don't go leave. Journalists are always poached, and the highest bidder always wins. Messi Sean they shed crocodile tears. In the bongo ideas, Wolf said, "Lady ni or cop and also and I come and Mr. Wine Massa a Sikentia na oko." Sikentia. Ena o hwe bongo idea nsem o kan o say Ghana journalists for ni mo am media mu pe movie. Sefaka has been with Peace for almost so many years. He's their best because he's basically kind of where he is, a platform that basically works for him. We so Quebec so be Quebec ko sabo na say akwa yira na ni sabepe na je say nsema ewo ho eno no na sansem we a bongo ideas be kan no Mr. Brantie bi anye ne de say or say ohinini or shade crocodile tears say go ti say bo no so the to your baba ke be to aso
emu me wiasipa so the like self awareness a gift to cause so bi be kasa asem we pa nyenye chairman na fono ahohono enye wo na money political party be na ma mo hwehwe akwan wo so kura architecture school kura anko bi contraction school kura anko bi contractor school anko bi one na videos about roads and our political party be abaso ebo minister bi abaso okra the highest bid am me foul the way ni na echi highest bid am me foul obi abon ho modern ewi adwuma also na or the next step ahead of her professional career anu mum ne how all like self awareness so dey am adwon ho amentiase cause minim so adwen no 24 hours bi I reset here I don't know cause mental enye normal chale also timi kokon wa sofufu ni bi na omo kika nsemi go so cause enye normal as a toda me feel say every 24 hours bia no wa adwen na reset I say stop watching I don't know all like self awareness too much I have to come on for one sem no na we kubi so we momone so a many one can my din who anu atwam so at the maker now the boabo no kakra why e be shia water no anymore why emu me wiasipa so the like self awareness a gift to cause so bi be kasa asem we pa nyenye chairman na fono ahohono enye wo na money political party be na ma mo hwehwe akwan wo so kura architecture school kura anko bi contraction school kura anko bi contractor school anko bi one na videos about roads and our political party bi abaso ebo minister bi abaso okra the highest bid am me foul the way ni na echi highest bid am me foul obi abon ho modern ewi adwuma also na or
all right, so that's exactly what is really going on. As I say, Menoka says here and Sema Ecos. Now, be moving on. Now, Yako a year in some for so because we are still on this issue. Now, you're moving on. No, you know about Ohini Adazwa. Menoka say no, Sani Yidi Kanka no. We're moving on. Aku Ahimfie FM. It's a new chapter for her in her life because definitely, you know, you need to actually get experience from different places. Now, Okoye, you know, in Simbia Babe Tuja because a Kamia Koyese and Neda Homache Oko a TikTok live and Odin Simbi a Tuja. In fact, somebody Tuja say a Yara Wopa at a point in time, not just say, you know, she's faced a lot of difficult situations in her life. One when you this woman yet you will say, she's been complaining and I say, or the other Tuja say, for worry almost getting to 10-15 years ni Oniba. Yes, ye bono, Sebi Obia or your boni, but on one day about Tuja say, at the age, a year 49 years, no, Sebio Ogusua or Bompires na Hopon Bebuana on us why they were carry a child of her own, but then Nabemu Engu. Now, aside from that being one of the issues we're facing, one other issue on us we're facing is say, at the point in time, Nyememu be tough on the family mu ama te say ni nua be ma kra ye che no they arrested or ye ni nua be ma ye che no ama ye chi ni nua be ma no eche kra no aden de ono ankasa so enam so ama ye kwa che no. Aside from that two issues be bre okọ you can nyema nko yi a oba Ghana wanko a whole lot of things yenko tin sama ye nua ba yi or the Tuja ye baba ka etifo ye beto aso
me ma me wo 7 a mema 5 a mema 6 me nkwa na me oba e na me nua be ma ba ko free na ye ne eden pa me ma me ne ne eden pa me papa de wo ye sa quiet type no to say me ku Mr. Brifa we na me ma me ne eden me ma me e bon sa wa yas urade achimo da wan ni ma me agozu agrades enna me meka se fia na eti meka se na ye geto eti emna me papa be fa me ma me kwa abuchire 80s mu won me papa tu kwantem 1980s mu na me papa kwa abuchire ko Italy ti 90s mu won no be fa me ma me ko em say later part of 80s mu ho e no be fa me ma me ko eti akoka ye ne ye nana ene ye wofa makana se mpe fe ne wofa Johnny eti mi wofa Johnny no na woton wi e wo efie ho e wo dan enu na ba me nipa ji reggae music ho no because the beyond bo reggae wo fie wo ne wisie enti no ema excuse me to say me nuanum bi hu wi no do di machi direct asidan Kenya me ena de wawu no no mo no bi but omo maka ne die obi a no bi ena me ya no bi na do di machi direct oda obi enu ya Texas minu ya Texas odjem da obi enu minu yen adweno no nye wo yi hadwen yesu obi aha ne maame a minu ya Texas o ha me maame papa ene wakobu wi wakoyi wi wo se obi niema ye beje me maame sika chese iti beye wo num bibi abi ti beye na kakra na me dia mi di na chi o no to abuchire no bai na me se kwa me ye mpe bibi ni mfa ye nua yimfa so ene ye di allegation ye kwa ye case ma ye kwa report so afire maame cylinder ni ye chi ni tum me maame obatan ni sum so ya hwere ni mkra ene ye di ye nua ni ye chi ni tum okọ remind bear 6 months ye de ne kokọ tani a remind ni sa enti wo da mu ano opie ye no na niema na oyi ofa ni nyina efri ni paduam na ne hoye fefe de bi o kan sister ma maboa mi o manchi mi antumu a kaso obi di sa de we be kana no a obi jai no edi ena eti mu hu fia me firi mu ni se ene ye di wo ho etudrasam e wo ho enti 2000 ena me hu Kristo me ma me adamfo bi e friend mama esi kunadu achimo da anti pegi baby a obi anya me hira me kotena ne nchen na me yare na me ma me ni Ghana ni ti na me yare ena mama be fa me ko ni fie ti me ko ni fie no ena ode me call the Church of Pentecost ti ho na me ko fe Kristo ena me hu se be eyese me se sama brabo ba me ade na ewo me hu ne se obi oni mi bia ni se me ni eden me pe life me pe ni je me ko disco me bibia but me kwa sori o ya be den me kwa sori me ko mpaibo ye awade wa ye bio sa tam na disco wo so no ebia mu de se bi wo wa mususa disco yi Skyhawks wulichi enom ne ade ebeba na nsuo to na se disco no anwumre na nsuo to a na mafada wuni na me na mantam nsuo na ate no mo nsoli o ye beko disco no beba so achimo da Rivoli anasa my hotel anasa Madarina na egradede ne sakame in my dream and I said na call prophetic program and a prophet na catch me say woman me we wo lady we ade be boa wo wiase eye prayer empaibo and be boa wo wiase and na so see gam na me dem paibo eye ma brabo bompai and na me nya onyame mu gidie se de me nene nam no oh na he's faithful na woni mi hwamo da enti se wo fie bi mu na hu party bi wo ho a onso betimi ayi ho afiri mu wa de mi kire onso betimi ayi wo ho ayedan afiri mu ana situation bia onipa ukom abrabo bia ubetimi agyae so ye wadwen so obegyae na wo sire onyame ahoden onyame moa ubetimi agyae efise maami Atalia ane bani Jehoshibati Atalia ne maami ne Jezebel ofa ne maami adwen bone ejina no okunkum nipa but Atalia ne baba ne de osim no menye ejamfa wo sa boronsam bewo ubetimi ayi nipa sronko with the help of God and the Holy Spirit ubetimi ayi nipa sronko anopei ni yesu keep secret kawanutum ti asiese enyi nipa nyina woni omo sere na bedo no nipa tamfo eni fifo ti asiesa na se wunu se wo frifie bim na bibi wo ho na enya chinchine twan ye de saa na yetie ye fie de ye papa no mo pema yo kosoe na toto pako ai na prostrate enso bekum e wo mranti birema mo wawu ye de fie de saa koba mpaibo atumi amwa wadi ubu oba koba mpaye asesima brabo koso baby a oyina komam edim paibo tai wo kunachi onyame hira no enano na pastor Elise kasembi o say oba bi wo ho a ne weapon ode ti akọ awade mu nyina ye nakoma pa ni good heart oni hwe me wakoma pa ma mikum but be ma so obedi nani akoma pa nti onyame betua wo ka e chese do ko ananwuro anate garasu ejenkase ye de pastor Elise nyame hira ye de be e firi no ye de saa ye papa no huma yo to asoe ye de fi ade saa na etie e ma de ye hia wade aware enye ye na enu tunfu bo brasa because mu fie de aware enye mo na ye ho fe yo so bia na ka wo hyebre mu no wo destiny mu no ka wo be ware ntem no wa ware ntem no na ka wo be di but wo de ani ato ma me no ne wante no ma wo be to wom sa wale enye mo na etu ma ware ntem etu nso usemu a ejiji nkrofo dia shene so se shebre nyina anyepe na sunu obreku kra ene so akokode ewadi hira ya no pei na onnom ye asemu ya wati fa bo ntoma no den so obeka wano atum ene obi eni nkomo bi enye bibia na ene obi discuss pray about it na ye bo se ewade be kasa ho a kirewo obetimi ye afri adai suma kirewo yo prostate kofi poku prostate nkum yo matrai toto pako na be chef abewo